Okay, so it's now 10:01, so we'll go ahead and begin. Um, Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to this session of Class Live. My name is Thanh Tran, and I'm an instructional designer from the Class Office of Educational Technology. I'm in the Instructional Design Department. So Class Live is a series of webinars that is organized by Class Office of Educational Technology, the instructional design team specifically. And the purpose of this series is to provide faculty with some sort of forum to discuss teaching and teaching resources, and to introduce some new instructional strategies and technologies to you. Or if you're new faculty, then we might want to revisit older technologies that we felt have been helpful. So today's topic is about integrating OET's online readiness resources. So these webinars, they're not supposed to be comprehensive, only maybe 20 through 30 minutes of talk. And they're meant for faculty to pop in and out very quickly. And they're recorded, so you can watch the recording later on your computer. Now, the goals for this session today is just to explore some strategies for getting students ready for online learning. What we'll cover today is some recommendations from something called Quality Matters. And then we'll do an overview of the OET online readiness resources. So we'll first discuss Quality Matters. So what is Quality Matters? Quality Matters is a nonprofit organization that provides training in quality assurance for online education. I'm sorry, Sammy, does somebody have something crinkly on? I can hear some weird sound. Okay, but anyways, I notice everyone is, I think it might be you, Fong. I'm gonna mute you really quickly, sorry.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. How do I bring this screen back? Okay, I can't. Let me try to, oh, I'm sorry, Fong. It might not be you. It might not be you, I'm sorry. Okay. So Quality Matters is a nonprofit organization that provides training and quality assurance for online education. And this organization developed a set of standards for higher education online courses. And these standards are then used in the QM, the Quality Matters process for peer-based reviews of courses. Now, all the instructional designers from our group has taken Quality Matters training courses. And this includes the director of our office, Linda Davis, and the associate provost, Jeff Morgan. We do not do any formal course reviews, but we do support course design. So sometimes we refer to the Quality Matters standards as like a sort of guide when we help faculty create or to revise their online courses. So our office can work with you to set up your course based on specific needs that you have, or if you want, we can use these standards here as a guide to help us plan the course. So ideally, an online class would have much of the descriptions in place here before the first day of class. So just to take a look at this thing called the specific review standards from the QM higher education rubric. The right side is something called the general standards, which are, I think it's eight things that QM thinks a quality course should have. And they basically describe what should be an effective course. So the first standard is called the first standard, or the first quality is to have some kind of course overview and introduction. The second is to have learning objectives. The third is to have assessments and measurements. The fourth, instructional materials. The fifth standard is having some kind of learning activities or interactive opportunities. I think I'm on the sixth now, is course technology, making clear what the technologies and the technology expectations are. The second to the last is to have learner support. And the very last one is to make sure that a course is accessible and easy to use for students. So the center of this, this rubric are what's called the specific review standards, and they just describe the general ones in more detail. Now, all the specific standards in this rubric are designed to help you create a course that students can be successful in. But the sections, the first one and the seventh one, called the first one being the course overview and introduction, and the seventh being the learner support. Now these two specifically address student online readiness, which is our topic today. So course overview and introduction basically recommends that you provide some type of orientation and introduction to the course, and to also have some kind of introduction activity for your course. And that could be students watching a video that introduces yourself, or doing an activity where they introduce each other. And you should also, in the beginning, make clear what are the requirements and expectations for this course. So anything with an orange dot here means that Class OET can provide you with a resource that addresses that specific standard to put into your course. And then the rest are things that are kind of unique to your course, and we of course can work with you to help you develop something that addresses that standard. Looking at learner support. So learner support basically recommends that you make students aware of the various resources that are available to help them be successful. Okay, so I'll just let you kind of just glance through that or skim through that really quickly. So now that you have a sense of what to provide to students in the early stages of an online course, we'll move on to the OET resources that you can use, which we call the online readiness resources. So the online readiness resources are a bunch of like things that are like surveys, videos, infographic, documents, booklets that addresses learner support and the course introduction and overview. And it addresses half of the standards in course overview and introduction, which are communication expectations, minimum technology requirements, and what are the expected computer skills that students should have. And it also addresses most of the specific standards for learner support, which is that the course instructions should be clear about how to get technical support. The instructions should be clear about where to get academic support, and just various other student services that are available to students by the college or the university. Oh, my throat's getting dry. Okay, so the online readiness resources are available to you at uh.edu/class/OET. So I'm gonna try to switch over to this to the website over here. Okay, here it is. So this is our Office of OET website. And if you scroll down, you can see there's an area called Faculty Resources. And when you click on this, we have a few resources for you. The first one over here being the online readiness resources, well, which we named the readiness module here. And then we have a knowledge base, reference guides, and an area for more support if maybe we don't address what you need. So I'm going to click on the readiness module, and this is what it looks like. So this page was designed for faculty to access. So we didn't design it for students, but we do have this all packaged for you and ready for you to put inside of a Blackboard course. So we have it organized in a way that would be helpful for students inside of Blackboard. And then if you want to, we can copy it over, and then you can rearrange it or take away or add to it however you want. So the 6 resources that are on here is the self-evaluation, a video called Tips for Online Learning, a communication do's and don'ts infographic, a communication emailing your professor infographic, a student discussion board booklet, and a set of videos that addresses common technology I guess, activities inside of Blackboard. Then lastly, this is just an optional feedback survey, of course. Okay, so you don't have to use this in any particular order. So I'd like to start off by first showing you this video. And these are things that you can put inside of a module, something like an introduction to the course module or an introduction to an online learning module. And I think this video might be helpful in communicating what students should expect in online learning. It's easier, right? Wow. University of Houston offers online courses that you can use for it's that easy. You can also understand two things that my class. First, ask yourself, do you feel confident using it? Also, are you comfortable using online, listening that you do it yourself? You're going to need a quiet place to study every day. Online learning requires a high level of commitment. There's no one physically there telling you what to do. Get used to the idea of doing a lot of learning on your own. You may need to reach out to someone, like a classmate, to collaborate and to keep each other accountable. Or not. You won't get quite. So it seems like there's a problem with the sound, and I wonder if it's because this is projecting, maybe the sound is only coming from is that a little bit better? Okay, then I'm not sure. I think I'm just gonna have to turn it up and play it again. I'm sorry about that, I didn't realize. Same kind of interaction in an online course as you will in a classroom. But even though you won't be communicating face to face, you're still expected to interact online a lot. A lot of communication will take place through email and Blackboard discussion. This means that you're going to have to check your Blackboard course and your email every day. Lastly, you're expected to complete weekly assignments. So you're going to have to put in roughly 10 hours a week and stay on top of due dates for every course. Hey, there are a lot of advantages in taking an online course, but it's only flexible to a certain extent. You're going to have to dedicate a lot of time and effort to do well. If you can do all the things we've talked about, then you'll probably do fine in an online course. What to avoid when you need to study.
online shopping, playing games, doing coursework in a noisy environment, putting off assignments until the last minute. You get the picture. It's not worth the drama.
Okay, so that is a video that you can use to introduce students to online learning. I'm trying to see if I can minimize this. Okay, there we go. So we try to incorporate some humor into the readiness resources because we want students to kind of you don't feel like it's like another task that they have to do. We want it to feel like it's like a fun activity for them if you're using it inside of your Blackboard course. So the next thing that I want to look at is the self-evaluation. And this self-evaluation basically reiterates everything that was mentioned inside of the video about making sure that students, even though students aren't meeting the instructor face-to-face, that they are going to be expected to be more independent and responsible in keeping track of the course. So the survey or the self-evaluation is called Getting Ready. And it asks, basically is an online course right for you? And to think over just these 5 questions, and then they'll receive feedback and tips to help them with online learning. So it just asks them yes or no questions, and then it gives them some advice. And through this survey, students are given links to various technical and academic resources that are available from the university, and just some common sense tips. So let's say if I clicked yes and I press next, well, the first question doesn't give you much, but they basically kind of reiterate the same thing to just get students to pause and think about whether or not an online course is right for them. So if I click here, can you help yourself should a technical problem occur? If the student clicks no, then it shows them who they should contact should they have a problem. But if they click yes, they'll still get the same tips. They'll just get a different response for their yes or no answer. Okay. The third question is, will you be able to check your email and Blackboard course every day? And then it gives them a tip on if they have trouble checking emails, then to download certain apps that would give them push notifications. The fourth question is, can you start and complete work all by yourself? And then it gives them some resources that they might not be aware of, such as the website for academic support, tutoring services, counseling, and workshops. And these workshops, I notice, cover things like time management, studying habits, and even strategies for if students have ADD or ADHD. And then the Writing Center, and it also introduces them to the Challenger program. And the last question is, can you set aside a quiet time and place to study every day? So it doesn't really matter whether or not I click yes or no, it's just the tips should be the same. So for this one, it gives them a website for reference and then shows them how to reserve a room at the UH library. Okay. The next resource I'd like to show you is something called the Communication Do's and Don'ts infographic. And this is just a way to communicate to students what's appropriate communication whenever they experience something inside of the course, and how to communicate to the instructor. So it gives them an example of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. So for the first scenario, it's when you email your professor, you should write a thoughtful and professional email. You should not send multiple emails back to back. When you have a question about policies, due dates, and grades, check your syllabus and course materials first. Don't make contact without looking through the course materials. When you have questions about specific assignments, start on work early to anticipate these questions and then to ask for help. And don't start on work the day that it's due and then expect no problems to occur, right? When an emergency happens and you can't submit work on time, email soon to explain why you can't submit work and then when you can. Don't make contact after the assignment's way past due, right? When you disagree with your grade, look over any feedback or that the instructor has given or the rubrics that are attached. Talk it over with somebody who's worked on the assignment first, and then don't make contact when you're frustrated or when you're unhappy with your grade at that moment. And finally, when you want to discuss your progress or other complex matters, schedule an appointment, and don't email back and forth to discuss something that's kind of complicated. Okay, so we're updating this web page right now, and there should be a link down here if you want to copy any of this stuff. Next is an infographic called Emailing Your Professor. And I know that a lot of instructors has made some requests to students to improve the professionalism of their email. So this infographic was made to just kind of make it a little bit more clear to them so that they can understand what is professional communication, right? So this is called How to Email Your Professor Without Embarrassing Yourself. And the first part shows that if you're reading this, then your instructor probably received too many poorly written emails in the past. And then it shows an example of a poorly written email. And it states, your writing reflects your professionalism. Think before hitting send, and just follow these 5 simple steps, right? So the first is use a subject line that includes the course name and the topic. Faculty receive a ton of emails every day, so don't let yours look like spam and get deleted, okay? The second is start with a salutation and follow with the faculty's title and their last name. Briefly state the purpose of the email and get to the point, write concisely, and use a polite tone. Be specific if you're reporting a problem. Show that you read the instructions and tried to troubleshoot on your own, and then include attachments or capture your screen to help explain. And the last one is to use a closing and sign it with your full name followed by the course name. And then to make sure that the student uses a name that corresponds with whatever's on the course roster. Okay. And then lastly, there's an example of a good email. So this email shows that they use a subject line. They address the instructor with the title, and they use the salutation, and they explained what is the issue, why are they writing, right? And then they used they explained that they tried to solve this problem, and then they attached an image of the problem that they're experiencing, and then lastly, they use a closing and sign their name. Okay. So that's another infographic. Next is a discussion board guide, and this is in a booklet form on our website. So the form of this guide that we have on Blackboard is not a booklet form, but there is a way that you can put this into your course so that it can flip like a book. So just email an instructional designer and we can help you with that. So discussion boards are a tool that is used by instructors if they want students to have some kind of have more communication about a certain topic. And the way that it's usually used is that the instructor will create the discussion board, and they'll put a prompt or a question, and then students will have to answer it and then respond to other students. And the issue that we found is that a lot of students don't know how to participate in a discussion board, right? So this guide was created, and it covers 4 things. What is a discussion board? The do's and don'ts of thread writing. So just some things that you should or shouldn't do. Sentence starters to extend discussion. and then examples of quality posts. Okay, so the first part explains what is a discussion board and why do instructors use it, and then it links to information on how to use a discussion board. And then the next part is about the do's and don'ts. So this first part discusses how to write a discussion post. And this isn't Blackboard unique. This can be applied to any discussion post, but it gives them just some really basic steps on how to get started, how to, you know, take it step by step. So read the instructor's directions, identify the timeline, gather resources, write to solicit responses, then respond to others, and finally to check for mechanics. The next page, this page I think is really helpful, is called Common Mistakes and Ways to Avoid Them. So it lists a common mistake. So the first one is writing like you're texting. And then it explains how this can be perceived, that it might be perceived that you don't know basic writing conventions. And then it gives advice. Do this instead. Write it as if you're writing a letter, not a text message, and using proper grammar and writing conventions, okay? So you can go through this if you want later. And this third part is called sentence starters to extend discussion. So sometimes students kind of need a nudge or just some examples of how they can respond to peers. So there are, I think, is it 8 strategies that I have here for students? They are to revoice and summarize. And then it shows, well, what does it sound like when you're revoicing or when you're summarizing another person's comment? Then interpret or explain, add to an idea, make connections, draw similarities and contrasts, ask for clarification, ask for evidence or reasoning, and challenge or counter example. Okay? And then the very last part, it just shows examples of, well, what's good, what's a good quality post, and then what's a poor one. So on this page, it shows the prompt, the initial post, and it shows a list of why this initial post is quality. And then it shows a reply and why this reply is poor. And then the next page shows 2 other replies and why these replies are good. Okay. So that's it for our discussion board guide. And the last one is just a set of videos. And of course, you can find videos on Blackboard tools anywhere. But so these videos, we made them specifically to address common Blackboard tools that instructors use, like submission drop boxes and discussions. And you can place these right before the assignments. So just to extend on that, any of these resources here, I recommend that like the discussion board guide, you place, instead of putting it at the very beginning of the first day of class or the first module, to place it right before the assignment so that students can review it and then they can get started on the assignment. And then the communication do's and don'ts, the videos and the self-evaluation, I recommend that you use it in the first week of class, or you could hold on to these, and when you notice that maybe students are communicating to you in a way that's less desirable, then you can send out an email and just, hey, take a look at this infographic that you might want to look it over before you send me an email in the future. So those are some ways that you can use that. Now, our website right now, this page was designed for faculty to use. So if you're interested in having students use any of these resources, then just send us an email at classidt at uh.edu, and to let us know your class ID or your class number, and then we can just copy the entire folder over to your course, and you can delete or modify it or use it however you want. Another way that I've seen faculty use it is that they literally just copy the URL on top and then they put it into the first day of class for their online class. So I think that's all that I have for you today, and I think we've just gone over time. So does anybody have any questions? And if,
Excuse me.
yes,
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. That's very good resources. I have a question. So, are these all the resources, or whether it's a video or a PDF file, can they be embedded into Blackboard course content?
yes. So the videos are YouTube videos, and because of that, they come with an embed code, so they can be embedded. And as for the other files, they're PDFs. So there's a certain way that you can insert the document into the course. I,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so PDFs are
Yeah,
good for
mainly.
embedding. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, mainly for videos or like the brochure.
Yes, so this the discussion board guide, um, for it to remain as a booklet form, you would have to, I believe you have to click on this. Let me try it again. I think right click on it, open it in a new tab, and then here you can get the, I don't know if you can see this because now I'm opening it up in a new tab.
Yes, I can see it.
Oh, okay. So then now you can copy this and then link it to students, but
Yeah.
you can't embed it at this point. I don't think so, but I could
Okay.
be wrong. Yeah.
Thank you. And does faculty, if faculty want to use this as a resource, do they need to give credit?
No, they don't have to. This is
Okay.
this was made for UH faculty, so
Okay.
it's theirs to use however they want.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that question. That was very helpful. So if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end this session. Thank you very much for joining us in the class live session today. All right, have a good day.
Thank you.